My name is Gosia Konwerska. I work as a developer for probability and statistics here at Wolfram. I'll be talking about tabular data cleaning, and turn on the video and we'll focus on the data. So first is what is actually clean data, and I think that there's so many definitions as many people one would ask. What I think can be understood by tabular data cleaning is some modification of the data that will serve to better understand the data, and then this will lead to creating meaningful visualizations and some deeper analysis of the data. So my goal here is to present somewhat simple examples of transformations of tabular data. So some examples of data cleaning that may be selecting rows, columns, so how to access the data that we are interested at, how to sort, how to then replace the values, and then how to deal with columns structurally in a way. So let's start here. How to remove a column. So, and when can this be useful? So this is an example of the data of Palmer penguins, so some measurements for the species. As you can see here, there is a column which is an index, and in the tabular, we have already rows that are being indexed. So that seems like this column is not really necessary. It can be removed, and the command for that, the function, is delete columns, and we provide just the name of the data and the name of the column that we would like to delete, and then you see that the resulting tabular doesn't have that column. And of course, one can remove multiple columns at the same time, just provide the list of the names for the columns to be deleted. Okay. How to select column and rows. So that was a bit mentioned in the previous talks, and here I'll show you on a different data. This is the sales data that has some number of columns and some number of rows. Can kind of see column names, so column keys can be extracted using the column keys function, and we get the list of all the names for the columns. And if now we want to select the specific columns from the data, I can use the somewhat simplified part notation, which first asks us to put all the rows that we would like to see. So if we are selecting columns, we can put all, so it means we want to see all the rows for the selected list of columns. So that narrows the whole tabular into a smaller tabular with selected columns. If we ask for the single column, then the result is a tabular column that can be then normalized and listed. But sometimes you would like to have a tabular with just a single column. So that would mean putting here a list with just single name, and that creates a tabular with just a single column. Now, selecting a single row gives an object which is called tabular row. And what is important about tabular row, that it keeps the information about the names and the types of the columns from the original tabular, and that can be seen by comparing tabular schemas for these two objects. And this is the what the tabular schema contains, and the most I think important for us here, it's the types, column types and column keys. Now, there's another way that we could look at the selection of rows, and this is based on the values in a specific column or in a multiple columns. So, for example, we would like to select all the rows from the original data for which the revenue, so values in this column, are above the median of this column, right? So here we have a select function, and we can then input a selection criteria here that will be a function of the column that we are wanting to narrow the data on. Another way is to use discard. Discard is a new function, and say that will do kind of an opposite action to select. We would like to discard, for example, all the rows that have region being Midwest. So this is the function region is Midwest, and now tabular in here doesn't have rows from the Midwest. Okay, so that was we were able in a previous example we were able to access rows by index and in columns by names, and there is also a way to access rows by values, in a way by creating names for the rows, and this is what we understand as a setting key columns. So let's look at this data here. This is a health expenditure through the years for some selected countries. And so when you look at this tabular here, here we have data for Australia through the years, right? And so it keeps going through the years. Then eventually it switches to Canada and it goes through the years. So if, for example, we would like to know what was the data for Canada in the year 2000, either I would need to keep scrolling, right, to find which row it is, which is not such a good idea, I think, because takes time. Or the other option is to use select with two conditions on the column of the country or column on the year. But we can also assign names to rows, and this means specifying which column or which columns will provide the names for the rows. And the only requirement for that is that the values of such key column or the pairs of values from multiple key columns are unique. So in this example here, we see that the values in the country column are not unique on its own, and the same the values in the year column are not unique on its own, but the combinations, the pairs, are unique. So the pair can be used as a key columns. So we recreate a tabular, but now specifying the key columns to take country and year. And you see that in this resulting tabular, there is no row index, and this two columns, country and year, are shaded in gray, and they serve as a key columns. And then we can use the wrapper row key that will take the pair for the specification of the row, and we can extract the information for this row. So that would return us that will return the tabular row, and normalizing this will give us the association with the data we are interested in. Okay, let's look at another example of the data. This is some information about fatal collisions in all US states. And as you can see here, we already have a key column, which is the state abbreviation here. And when we scroll through this, we can see that this data is the rows are all ordered alphabetically by the state name. For analysis, maybe another order of rows would be more of interest, put it that way. So we can sort the data by a given column. So this would give us the states with the highest insurance premium first. So the reverse sort by, and then by will be referring to the name of the column for which we are interested. So we have the insurance premium first and New Jersey as a first row, or we can extract some subset of the data with, for example, the smallest values. So here, this is taking the 5 rows, so the 5 states with the smallest insurance losses. And the other functions that are in the same family working on tabular, that's sort by, and then corresponding take largest by, minimal by, and maximal by. Okay. Sometimes the data comes with missing values, it's incomplete. So here we have an example of temperature and pressure, some weather data with the missing. And tabular structure can tell you how many missing elements are in each column. So 2, 7 in temperature and pressure. And when plotting such a data, in this case the temperature versus time, this plot will have holes. Temperature is a continuous observation, and one of the natural methods for filling in missing values is linear interpolation. And the function to kind of fill the missing values, or we call transform missing, on the data, with the method here given as a string as an interpolation. By default, the linear interpolation is being used. And now when plotting this, we'll see that we have a continuous nice plot without holes. And there are other methods available here for the transform missing, and they also can be specified on a column by column basis. So here this is temperature goes to mean, means fill the missing in temperature column with the mean of the non-missing values, and in the pressure column take the nearest element that it's not missing. And then you can see here again the plot of temperature in time, that we have the mean filling the missing in the data. Okay, so that was replacing the missing, and generally we can also replace all the values in a column. Why would we do this? For example, in this case, this is a cardiac disease data, so some medical patient data of patients. You can see here age, or resting BP, cholesterol levels, but also there is a column here that's called chest pain and just has numbers. Okay, and I am not coming from a medical profession. I don't know what these numbers refer to. Maybe it's the scale of pain. When we look at the column descriptions of this data, we see that the chest pain actually is a pain type. So the coding here refers to the type of the pain. And for me, if I would like to do more analysis on that, it would be easier to actually see the descriptive values in the data. So that could be done by specifying the replacement rules and then using transform columns when the chest pain column will be just have replacement using the rules that we specify here. So the new data will have chest pain being now a string and being descriptive. And this will then look clearly when we aggregate rows, for example, to compute the mean cholesterol, when grouping according to the chest pain. So each group now will give us a descriptive value here. And of note is that, of course, doing a replacement of the values in a column will change or maybe not, depending what happens. But in this case, what happened is that the type changed. So the column type of the chest pain originally was integer type, and through the replacement, the type now changed to string. And generally speaking, the changing of the column type might be something that is needed also to better describe the data or analyze the data. Because what happens is, for example, often dates come as strings. So in this case here, the date column is a string column. And we can see this when we extract the column types of the data. And we have a new function cast columns that will change the type of the column into a given type. And this is maybe a funny example because we're changing a date column into a date type. So its date goes to date, but because depending on which side of the arrow this date is, has a different meaning. So right now, this date column has a different type, which is a date type, which has also information about the granularity, calendar, and time zone, etc. The integer numbers can easily be cast into reals, so the sales can be changed into the reals. And you can see that the city data can be grouped into the categories, and instead of just being strings. So if we ask city to be categorical type, then we see that we have here a categorical type with the types being listed here as all the cities from the original data. Okay. rename columns. So we change the types. We will maybe want to change the column keys, and that might be very simple scenario. We have a function which is called rename columns. But what I have here, I would like to show maybe an application of changing the name by of the columns by adding a level to a column key. So this data here is given in a monthly observations for a year. So we have a key column that it's a year. And what we could do is to group the months into quarters. And so what we gonna have months and then quarters as a list here, and create the new keys that will be extended key, and the top level is which quarter and then which month. So you can see that now renaming the month, so all the keys that were the months into the new keys will create a new structure on the keys. And so in a way visually it's maybe easier to parse, to group columns by some kind of a property. In this case, it's the time. And also what we can do here is we can refer to the keys by just providing the top level and then having anything else follow. So computing the mean for all quarters for each year, this function here will extract the column keys that match this criteria, so that the top level will be a given quarter, and then construct columns will create the new tabular from the original, taking the year column and then creating the new columns with the mean from the existing columns here. Okay, splitting columns. So sometimes the data, like here in the car models data, we in this column name have information about the car maker and also car models. And it might be nice to split this into the two columns. So the transform columns, we can create the two columns kind of on the fly by splitting the single one. We'll be padding with missing if there's no model specified. And here we're gonna place this before the origin, and also when we send the name column to nothing, that means that we're gonna delete this column from the data. So now we have two new columns, maker and model. It's easy to then count how many car makers were included in the data. This is using aggregate rows. We create the new column total, and then we'll reverse sort this by this new column. And then it's easy to say visualize all these car makers that have at least 10 models included in the data. So there will be pie chart on the selection of the above tabular. And the last example here is combination. So combining two columns, maybe more. The data here, it's New York City tree census data. So that's from 2015. Yes, many folks went out and did a census on the trees on the streets of New York. And this is, over 680,000 trees. When we look at this data, it has also many columns. But we see that one of those, it's the latitude and longitude, so for the tree. And this latitude and longitude can be combined into a single value of geoposition. And this is again using transform columns, placing this new column after the longitude. When you look at the column keys here, we have our geolocations here. And now we can visualize, for example, locations of the dead trees using geographics on the selection of the data that contains only the trees with the status dead. So this is the last example, and I thank you, and I will now let Sean Charon to take over with talking about tabular data sources.